The arena was quiet, but the silence was heavy, tense. A massive cage stood in the center, reinforced with alien alloys that glimmered in the sunlight. Inside, a creature moved restlessly, a dragon unlike any human had ever seen. Its scales were scarred, metallic implants glinting along its spine and claws. Its wings were torn, edges frayed, and its golden eyes burned with fury and pain. This was Korath, the Emperor's so-called broken dragon, once a symbol of power, now a living nightmare. The Empire had tried to repair it, to tame it, to use it as a weapon, and every tamer had failed. No one lasted more than an hour. Some fled screaming. Some were thrown across the arena by its massive claws. A few had disappeared entirely, never seen again. The crowd of alien spectators whispered nervously. Their voices were low, almost reverent. Most didn't even look at the dragon, afraid its rage might reach through the barriers. Scientists, beastmasters, and warriors crowded the observation platforms, watching for the inevitable disaster. They had long ago stopped hoping for control. Marcus Hale stepped forward. Humans were rare here. Far from Earth, the Terran colonies were considered weak and insignificant. Marcus had come because he had no other choice. A veteran of the Terran wars, he had once flown battleships through asteroid storms and fought aliens far stronger than this city's tallest towers. But now he was just a single dad scraping by on whatever work he could find. His daughter, Leah, depended on him, and this job promised payment enough to keep them fed for months. The alien overseer sneered as Marcus approached the cage. His voice was sharp, cutting through the silence. Humans are fragile. Do you really think you can survive what has killed the best of us? Marcus looked at the dragon, then back at the overseer. His face was calm, eyes steady. Maybe you just haven't tried kindness yet, he said. The crowd laughed, but it was a hollow sound. Most knew kindness would not hold back the beast. But Marcus did not flinch. He set down a small pack and took a deep breath. Inside the cage, Korath hissed, a sound like molten metal scraping against stone. Steam rose from its nostrils and its tail lashed the ground, leaving grooves in the metal floor. The dragon's gaze fixed on Marcus, suspicious, dangerous, and yet curious. Marcus knelt slowly, never taking his eyes off Korath. He did not reach for weapons. He did not try to control it with machines or telepathy. He simply sat cross-legged and spoke softly. Easy now. I'm not here to hurt you, he said. I'm not like the others. The dragon growled, low and threatening. Its claws scraped the floor. Sparks flew from the broken implants along its spine. Every muscle was tense, ready to strike. Marcus reached into his pack and pulled out a piece of dried meat, prepared for alien tastes, neutral enough not to anger it further. He tossed it gently toward Korath. The dragon sniffed, then recoiled, uncertain. I won't force you, Marcus whispered. You don't have to trust me yet. Minutes passed. The sun climbed higher, casting long shadows across the arena. The crowd grew restless. 1 hour had passed. In the past, this was the exact time when the beast had broken every tamer. But Marcus did not falter. He stayed seated, speaking quietly, moving calmly. He told stories about his daughter, Leah, about their home colony, the small garden they kept on the rooftop of their building, about the stars he had seen while flying missions in the Terran wars. He spoke of hope and healing, of finding peace even in the midst of chaos. The dragon shifted slightly, tilting its head. Its eyes tracked every movement, every word. Something flickered there, a trace of memory perhaps, or recognition. Marcus noticed the jagged implants and scars along its wings and back. They were not just injuries from battle. They were marks of cruelty, of experiments that had broken the creature's spirit. Marcus's hands were steady as he reached out slowly. I know what they did to you, he said softly. I've seen things like this before. But it's not too late. Korath growled again, louder this time. Sparks flew from its claws and a low vibration shook the cage. Marcus did not move. He stayed calm, steady, a human heart beating without fear in the face of pure fury. An alien tamer whispered from the observation platform, voice trembling. It hasn't struck. Not yet, Marcus continued, ignoring the words. I'm not here to dominate you. I'm here to understand you. That's all I can do. The dragon's wings twitched. For the first time in many cycles, it did not attack. Its eyes, once full of blind rage, seemed to consider. It sniffed the air, nostrils flaring, tail curling cautiously. Marcus slowly reached into his pack again, pulling out a small water container. He poured some onto the ground near Korath's claws. "Drink," he said gently. "Take your time." Korath's head lowered slightly. Hesitation. Trust is not given lightly, and Marcus knew this. He waited. Minutes more passed. The crowd grew restless again, murmuring nervously. The overseer slammed a claw on the railing. "He cannot last." "It's impossible." Marcus ignored him. Finally, with a careful, trembling movement, Korath drank. Sparks shot from the metal in its mouth, but it did not attack. Marcus smiled faintly. A small victory, yes, but a victory nonetheless. The hour mark passed. The announcer's timer beeped. In the past, this was the moment when every human tamer had failed. But Marcus remained seated, alive, calm, unshaken. A ripple of shock passed through the audience. Some aliens whispered in disbelief. "He lasted an hour." Marcus stood slowly, keeping his movements smooth and deliberate. Korath watched him, eyes narrowing, but not with the same wild anger as before. There was caution, curiosity, and perhaps for the first time a flicker of trust. "Good," Marcus said softly. "You're stronger than anyone gave you credit for." "And so am I." The overseer's jaw tightened. He had expected fear, failure, perhaps even death. Instead, he saw patience, intelligence, and quiet strength. Humanity had no weapons here, no implants, no special powers. Just resilience and courage. Marcus knelt again, gently scratching behind Korath's ear. Sparks flew from the implant, but the dragon did not flinch. He spoke softly, recounting stories of Leah, of home, of battles fought not with claws or plasma, but with heart. The crowd slowly quieted, watching. Not a single alien had dared approach Korath before. Now they watched as a human, small and fragile by alien standards, shared space with the Emperor's broken dragon and did not die. Marcus's mind wandered briefly to Leah, imagining her drawing pictures of dragons on her little sketchpad. He smiled faintly, thinking of how Korath might even let her climb onto its back one day. But that was a dream for later. First he needed patience, first he needed trust, and for now they had taken the first step. The alien overseer gritted his teeth, muttering something in his tongue. Marcus did not care. He had learned long ago that anger and fear were easy to manipulate, but patience and understanding could achieve far more. For the first time in many years, Korath was silent, calm, and aware. Not submissive, not tamed, but aware. And in that awareness, Marcus saw a spark of possibility. The crowd began to murmur again, some in awe, some in fear. But Marcus ignored them all. He focused on the dragon, the broken creature that had defeated every tamer before him. For the first time he saw hope, and hope he knew could change everything. The sun had begun to dip toward the horizon, casting long golden shadows across the arena. The crowd had gone home, leaving only the alien overseers and a handful of scientists to watch. Marcus Hale stayed inside the cage with Korath, kneeling on the cool metal floor. The dragon's eyes followed every movement he made, golden orbs flickering with caution and curiosity. Marcus had brought supplies that the Empire had not approved, soft blankets, water containers, and specially prepared meat that would not aggravate Korath's implants. He spread the blankets carefully along one side of the cage, creating a small corner that might feel safe for the dragon. He did not rush. He knew that trust, especially for a creature as broken as Korath, would not come quickly. "Here," he said softly, tossing a piece of meat near the dragon's massive claws. "I know you're wary. You have every reason to be, but I won't hurt you." The dragon sniffed cautiously, then stepped back, wings twitching nervously. Sparks flickered from the implants along its spine as if warning Marcus to keep his distance. But Marcus stayed calm. His voice remained steady, gentle, unshakable. "I'm not like the others," he continued. "I don't want to control you. I just want to understand you." For a long while, nothing happened. Korath lay down, but kept its head raised, eyes never leaving Marcus. The veteran understood the meaning of the silence. It was a test, not of strength but of patience. He waited. Hours passed, and Marcus began speaking of his daughter, Leah. He told Korath about her small hands and bright smile, about how she loved dragons and would draw them on scraps of paper when she thought no one was looking. He told the dragon about the garden they kept on their colony rooftop, a small patch of green in a world of metal and dust. Korath's eyes narrowed slightly, not in anger but in recognition. Marcus noticed subtle shifts in the dragon's posture, small movements that suggested curiosity. He smiled faintly. Small victories were important, the overseers observed in confusion. They had expected Marcus to fail, to be flung across the cage or worse. Instead, he remained calm, patient, and surprisingly alive. Some muttered to each other, whispering that the human might be discovering a weakness they had never noticed in Korath, that perhaps it responded to care, to attention, not just force or commands. As the evening deepened into night, Marcus carefully approached Korath's side, keeping his movements slow and deliberate. I can help you, he said softly, reaching out a hand. You don't have to trust me yet. Just know I'm not here to harm you. The dragon growled, low and threatening, sparks flying from its implants. But it did not strike. Instead, it shifted slightly, wings brushing the metal walls of the cage. Marcus understood that this was progress. The dragon was testing him and he was passing. I've seen cruelty before, Marcus said quietly, sitting back down. I've seen war. I've seen people hurt the ones they love. And I've seen what humans can do when they fight for something they care about. You and I, we're not so different. Korath tilted its head, eyes narrowing as if considering the words. Marcus could almost feel the weight of its memories. Pain, fear, and rage mixed with confusion. He reached slowly into his pack and pulled out a small water container, pouring a little on the ground near the dragon. Drink, he said. Take your time. Korath lowered its massive head and lapped at the water cautiously. Sparks flew from the implants, but no attack came. Marcus's lips curved into a faint smile. Trust, he knew, was being built, one careful action at a time. Over the next several days, Marcus returned to the cage at the same hour each day. He spoke to Korath, moved carefully, and offered food and water. He cleaned small patches of the dragon's scales and examined its wounds. The implants had been poorly designed, crude attempts to control the beast. Marcus studied them, thinking of ways to ease the dragon's discomfort without alerting the alien scientist who insisted on strict protocols. Korath, he said one evening, kneeling beside the dragon as it lay down beside him. I know it hurts. I know they broke you, but we can fix this together, you and me. No one else matters here. The dragon's eyes softened slightly, the golden glow dimming in places where the fury had once burned brightest. It leaned slightly into Marcus's touch, an unspoken acknowledgement. The overseers had never seen anything like it. A human, a simple soldier, building a bond with a creature the Empire considered uncontrollable. One night, Marcus brought Leah with him. She had insisted on seeing the dragon, eager to meet the magnificent creature her father had spoken about. Marcus had been hesitant, but he knew that trust involved patience and that humans could teach even the most broken of beasts about kindness. Hello, Korath, Leah said softly, her small voice steady. The dragon's head turned toward her, nostrils flaring. It growled faintly but did not move aggressively. Marcus knelt beside her, holding her hand. He's not going to hurt you, Marcus whispered. He's learning to trust us, just like you have to learn to trust him. Leah reached out slowly, holding a small drawing she had made of Korath. The dragon sniffed the paper, eyes flickering with something Marcus could not yet name. Korath lowered its head just enough for Leah to touch the tip of its nose. She laughed softly, and for the first time, Marcus felt the dragon respond not with anger but curiosity. Days turned into weeks. Marcus continued his work, speaking softly, repairing minor injuries and offering comfort. Korath began responding in subtle ways, shifting its weight when Marcus approached, following his movements with its eyes, and even allowing brief touches. But the Empire watched with growing unease. Alien nobles whispered behind closed doors. They feared that Marcus was teaching the dragon something no one else had been able to: trust. If Korath truly bonded with a human, its power would no longer be under the Emperor's control. One night, a group of soldiers arrived, moving quietly in the shadows. They whispered orders to eliminate the dragon before it could fully bond with Marcus. The veteran could sense their approach. He stood, placing a protective hand on Korath's massive claw. You won't hurt him, Marcus said firmly, eyes flashing with the quiet authority of a man who had faced war countless times. I won't let you. The soldiers hesitated. Korath growled low, vibrations rippling through the metal floor. Sparks flew from its implants, lighting up the darkness. Marcus didn't flinch. He had been trained to face impossible odds. Now he faced the impossible patience of a dragon, learning to trust him. For the first time, the Empire saw something it had never expected. A human, small and seemingly fragile, commanding not fear or submission but respect. Marcus had discovered the truth of Korath's power. Not in its claws or fire, not in implants or brute strength, but in its ability to trust and protect. The soldiers withdrew, uneasy. Marcus knelt beside the dragon, whispering softly, "We'll keep going together, step by step. You'll see. Not everyone is here to hurt you." Korath's eyes softened further, golden flames dimming into a calmer glow. It lowered its massive head, allowing Marcus to inspect a jagged edge of an implant without fear. The dragon's body relaxed, wings folding slightly. It had not surrendered, but it had begun to understand. Marcus looked at his daughter, who had been watching quietly. "One day," he said softly, "he might even let you ride him. But for now, we teach him trust. That's more important than anything else." And in that quiet, glowing arena, something remarkable happened. For the first time in the Emperor's citadel, the broken dragon and the human soldier were not enemies. They were partners, building something stronger than fear, stronger than rage, a bond of respect, patience, and care. And Marcus knew, deep down, that this was only the beginning. The days had grown longer, and the arena's shadow stretched across the floor as Marcus Hale continued his careful work with Korath. The dragon had changed slowly but noticeably. Its massive wings were no longer constantly twitching with tension. Its eyes, once full of blazing fury, now held curiosity, even a faint spark of recognition. Marcus could sense the shift in the creature's spirit. Marcus had learned every scar, every scarred implant, every twitch of muscle. He cleaned small cuts and applied salves made from alien and Terran medicine alike. Korath no longer recoiled violently at touch, though it still remained cautious. Marcus could feel the subtle weight of its trust growing day by day. Leah joined him whenever she could. She was small, fearless, and full of wonder. She would sit on the blanket, drawing pictures of Korath or telling stories to the dragon as if it could understand every word. And in many ways it did. Korath would tilt its massive head to watch her movements, sometimes even nudging a small scrap of paper toward her with its snout, gently enough that she would laugh and clap her hands. Marcus watched them quietly. He realized the dragon's true healing had begun, not from medicine, not from food, but from understanding and patience. It was learning to trust humans, and Marcus understood in that moment why no tamer had lasted an hour. It wasn't strength or skill that tamed Korath. It was care. Humans had a unique way of speaking to hearts, even those behind metal and fire. But the Empire was not blind. Alien observers on the platforms above the arena whispered in fear. A human bonding with the Emperor's broken dragon was unprecedented. Some nobles feared the implications. Korath's strength was immense. If it fully trusted Marcus, no tamer or soldier could control it. And a human controlling a dragon could shift the balance of power in the Empire. One evening, as Marcus fed Korath and cleaned minor injuries, a group of alien overseers approached the cage. Their expressions were grim, their voices cold. "You cannot continue this," the chief overseer said. "The dragon's loyalty must be to the Emperor, not a human. Remove him or we will do it ourselves." Marcus did not flinch. He looked up, calm but firm. "I'm not harming him. I'm helping him. If anything, he trusts humans more now than he has in decades. That's not a crime." The overseer narrowed his eyes. "Trust, a dragon is a weapon, not a pet. And you, human, you are dangerous. Do not mistake patience for weakness." Marcus smiled faintly. "Dangerous? Maybe. But humans survive in ways others cannot. We fight not just with strength, but with understanding. That's how we win." The overseers glared but stepped back, uneasy. Marcus turned back to Korath, who was watching the exchange with quiet intelligence. The dragon's tail curled slightly, brushing the edge of the blanket, a subtle sign of comfort. The next day, Marcus decided it was time to test Korath's abilities beyond the cage. He approached the massive gates with care, knowing the dragon would sense his intentions. "We're going to move a little today," he said softly. "Nothing dangerous. Just a small step." Korath's golden eyes narrowed, observing every movement. Its wings twitched, but it did not resist. Marcus unlatched the gates, keeping his movements calm, deliberate, and confident. He stepped back, giving Korath room. The dragon took its first cautious steps outside the cage. Its massive claws sank slightly into the metal floor. sparks flying from contact with the implants. Marcus stayed near, speaking softly, praising its bravery. Good, that's it. You're doing well, one step at a time. For hours, he walked with Korath through the arena's open space. The dragon's massive wings stretched, and it flapped them carefully, learning balance. When it stumbled, Marcus steadied it with a firm but gentle touch. Leah watched from a safe distance, eyes wide with awe. As Korath became more comfortable, Marcus noticed the implants reacting differently. The sparks were fewer, the mechanical parts adjusting to the dragon's natural movement. It seemed to relax as Marcus guided it, testing the limits of trust. But not all was quiet. The Empire had begun planning in secret. A faction of nobles had convened, arguing that Korath must be controlled at any cost. They could not allow a human to bond with the Emperor's weapon. Spies and soldiers were dispatched quietly to monitor Marcus and the dragon, waiting for the right moment to strike. One evening, Marcus and Korath were practicing movement near the arena's far edge. Korath was beginning to respond to subtle gestures, moving in rhythm with Marcus's commands. Not obedience, but mutual understanding. Marcus felt a surge of pride. This dragon, once broken and furious, was learning to trust again. Suddenly, a faint sound echoed through the arena, a whisper of movement, metallic and deliberate. Marcus tensed immediately. He signaled Korath with a subtle hand gesture. The dragon crouched slightly, wings braced. It was listening, watching, ready. From the shadows, a group of soldiers emerged, plasma rifles raised. Marcus stepped in front of Korath. "No," he said firmly. "I will not let you harm him." The soldiers hesitated. Korath growled low, vibrations shaking the ground. Sparks shot from the implants, lighting the shadows like fireflies in the night. Marcus did not move. He had faced far worse in his life, but this was different. This was a dragon that trusted him. And trust, he knew, was worth more than any weapon. The lead soldier stepped forward. "Step aside, human. You cannot control it." Marcus's voice was calm but strong. "I am not controlling it. I am protecting it, and if you attack, you will not survive." The soldiers hesitated, clearly unnerved. Korath's growl deepened, wings spreading slightly, casting massive shadows over the approaching group. The energy from its implants crackled through the air, a warning that this was not a creature to be trifled with. Then Marcus made a small, subtle gesture with his hand. Korath understood instantly. It stepped forward not to attack but to block Marcus and Leah from the soldiers. Its massive head lowered, eyes fixed on the intruders, and a sound erupted. A roar that shook the metal walls, full of power and warning. The soldiers faltered. They had expected obedience from a human tamer. Instead, they were confronted with partnership, human and dragon working together. Korath did not strike yet, but the warning was clear. Any wrong move would trigger a response no one could contain. Marcus's voice cut through the tension. "Leave," he said quietly. "We don't want to fight, but we will protect ourselves." The lead soldier hesitated, then signaled retreat. They withdrew, leaving Marcus, Leah, and Korath alone in the arena. The silence returned, but now it was different. It was heavy with respect, not fear. Korath lowered its head toward Marcus, a subtle acknowledgement of trust and understanding. Marcus knelt, placing a hand on the dragon's massive claw. "You did well," he said softly. "You didn't strike, but you protected. That's what matters. That's strength." Korath's eyes glowed faintly, golden light flickering. It shifted closer to Marcus, and for the first time, the dragon allowed itself to relax completely in the presence of a human. The night passed with a quiet sense of achievement. Marcus realized the bond had grown beyond mere survival. Korath had begun to understand human intent, empathy, and care. In return, Marcus understood the dragon's pain, fear, and the cruelty it had endured. He looked at Leah, sleeping beside the dragon's massive head, and smiled faintly. One day, he thought, she will see the world differently because of this. She will see that humans can heal, even when others give up. And in the darkness of the arena, Marcus Hale understood something else. The Empire had sent their best to control Korath, but humans had something far stronger: patience, care, and the ability to see the heart behind the rage. The bond they had built could not be measured by implants, chains, or power. It was quiet, subtle, and invisible to those who only measured strength in weapons and fear, yet it was stronger than anything the Empire had ever known. As dawn approached, Marcus stepped outside the cage, keeping one eye on Korath. The dragon followed, massive wings folding carefully as it walked beside him. The arena was silent except for the gentle hum of the implants adjusting to Korath's natural movements. And Marcus knew deep down that the Empire would not rest. Soldiers would return, plots would be made, but for now he had one victory: a broken dragon learning to trust a human, step by careful step. And that trust, Marcus realized, was more dangerous than any weapon the Empire could wield. The night sky was dark, filled with distant stars that glimmered like scattered gems across the void. The arena was quiet, the usual crowd gone, but Marcus Hale could feel tension in the air. He knew the Empire was growing impatient. Soldiers and spies would not let the bond he had built with Korath go unnoticed. Korath lay near the far end of the arena, wings folded, eyes half closed in what Marcus knew was a rare moment of calm. The dragon had grown noticeably stronger, its movements more fluid and controlled. Marcus had spent weeks earning its trust, and the creature had begun to respond to subtle gestures, to anticipate commands before they were spoken. Leah was asleep in a small, safe corner, a blanket covering her shoulders. Marcus kept a hand on Korath's massive claw, feeling the heat and subtle tremor of energy that ran through its body. It was alive in ways that no machine or tamer could have controlled. Alive because it had chosen to trust. But trust was fragile, and the Empire had already begun testing it. From the shadows, a squad of soldiers moved silently, their plasma rifles aimed at the dragon. Marcus sensed them immediately, the veteran instincts honed over years of war alerting him to the danger. He whispered softly to Korath, "Stay calm." "We may have company." The dragon's eyes snapped open, golden light flaring in warning. Its tail whipped across the floor, sparks flying as the metallic implants struck the metal. Marcus did not flinch. He had seen impossible odds before, and he knew fear would not help. The soldiers approached, stepping into the dim light. "Step aside, human," the lead officer ordered. "This creature belongs to the Emperor. Your interference ends now." Marcus stood blocking the path. "I won't let you hurt him," he said firmly. "He trusts me." "You will not break that trust." The soldiers hesitated. Korath growled low, vibrations shaking the arena floor. Sparks shot from its implants, and the sound of its roar filled the vast space, echoing like distant thunder. Marcus kept his stance, confident in the bond they had built. The dragon would protect them, but only if he remained calm. Suddenly, one of the soldiers fired a plasma shot. It struck the metal floor near Korath, sending a shower of sparks into the air. The dragon reared, wings spreading wide, eyes blazing. Marcus held up a hand, signaling Korath to remain defensive, not aggressive. The dragon obeyed in a subtle way. It blocked the soldier's approach with its massive body, but did not attack. Its roar alone sent two soldiers sprawling backward. The remaining men froze, realizing that force alone could not break the bond between human and dragon. Marcus's voice was calm but commanding. "We don't want to fight, but we will defend ourselves," the lead officer growled, frustrated. "You cannot control it. Step aside or die." Marcus's eyes met the dragon's. A silent understanding passed between them. Korath lowered its massive head, wings braced, and let out a low, trembling growl. Then with a single powerful motion, it unleashed a surge of energy from its implants. A controlled but overwhelming wave that sent the soldiers skidding backward. Sparks flew from their weapons, and the metal floor groaned under the force. The soldiers scrambled to retreat, realizing that the dragon was no longer just a beast. They were facing a force that had chosen a human as its partner. Marcus did not move. He held his position, hand steady, voice calm. "You see?" he said softly. "Trust is stronger than fear, and respect is stronger than force." The soldiers fled, but Marcus knew the Empire would not give up so easily. They would return, better prepared, with larger forces and perhaps more dangerous weapons. For now, though, they had survived. Korath lowered its head, breathing heavily but calm. Marcus knelt beside the dragon, brushing a hand over its scarred scales. "You did well," he said quietly. "You protected us without giving in to rage. That is strength, stronger than any weapon they could bring." The next morning, Marcus decided it was time to leave the arena. He had learned enough about Korath's responses, enough to trust that the dragon could follow him safely. The gates creaked open and the dragon stepped out, massive wings folding carefully. Marcus followed, with Leah safely in his arms. Outside the arena, the city was quiet. Most had not yet noticed their absence, and the night's events had left the Empire's soldiers wary. Marcus led Korath to a hidden courtyard, one that had once been a training ground for the Emperor's elite. Now it was their sanctuary. Here, Marcus said, spreading a blanket for Leah. You'll be safe for now. Korath lowered its head, allowing Marcus to inspect minor injuries sustained during the night. Its massive body was tense but obedient, showing that trust had been maintained even under extreme stress. Leah, eyes wide, stepped toward the dragon. He protected us, she whispered. Marcus nodded. Yes, and he will continue to protect us. But we must be careful. The Empire will not stop watching. They spent the day resting. Marcus cleaned implants, applied salves, and talked to Korath quietly. The dragon began to respond more actively, nudging Leah gently, curling its massive body around them to provide warmth and safety. It had chosen them, and Marcus understood that this was now more than survival. It was partnership. But danger lurked closer than they realized. A small drone, camouflaged among the ruins, observed them silently. Alien nobles had sent it, monitoring Marcus and Korath, waiting for a sign of weakness. They did not understand that trust and care could never be measured by sensors or weapons. As evening approached, the drone transmitted a warning to the Empire. The human and dragon are bonding beyond control. Immediate intervention required. Marcus sensed the approaching storm before it arrived. The air grew heavy, charged with the energy of the implants and the tension of distant soldiers moving into position. He looked at Korath, who rose slowly, wings stretching. The dragon's eyes glowed brighter than ever, reflecting both fury and readiness. They're coming, Marcus whispered. Stay close to me. We fight together or we don't fight at all. The first squad of soldiers emerged from the shadows, plasma rifles raised. Marcus positioned himself between the dragon and Leah, voice calm and firm. We do not attack unless necessary, but if they strike, we protect ourselves. Korath's wings flared, tail lashing the ground, eyes fixed on the soldiers. The dragon's roar filled the courtyard, a sound so powerful it shook loose debris from the walls. Sparks flew from the implants, and the soldiers staggered backward, realizing that brute force alone would not succeed. A sudden order came from the lead officer. Fire on the dragon! Kill it before it fully bonds with the human. Marcus's mind raced. He had faced impossible odds before, but this was different. This was a battle of trust, courage, and partnership, not just strength. He made a subtle gesture, a small hand motion Korath had learned over weeks of careful training. The dragon responded instantly. It did not strike indiscriminately. Instead, it moved to block the soldier's path, protecting Marcus and Leah. A wave of energy surged from its implants, knocking weapons from their hands and sending sparks flying across the courtyard. The soldiers fell back, stunned and frightened. Marcus remained calm, standing beside Korath, voice steady. Leave. Now. We do not want to hurt you, but we will protect ourselves. The lead officer hesitated, then retreated. The remaining soldiers followed, disappearing into the shadows. The courtyard was silent again, broken only by the low rumble of Korath's breathing. Marcus knelt beside the dragon, brushing a hand over its massive claw. You did well, he said softly. Not because you fought, but because you protected without rage. That is true strength. Korath lowered its head, nudging Marcus gently, a gesture of acknowledgement and trust. Leah reached out, placing her small hand on the dragon's nose. Korath responded gently, careful not to harm her. Marcus looked at the night sky, realizing that the Empire would not stop. They would return with larger forces, perhaps more dangerous weapons. But for now they had won a small victory. Trust and partnership had survived the first true test of combat. And Marcus knew that this bond, built on patience, care, and courage, would only grow stronger. Korath was no longer just a broken dragon. It was a guardian, a partner, and a friend. The night stretched on, quiet and tense, but filled with hope. For the first time, Marcus felt that perhaps humans were not powerless in this alien empire. Perhaps with trust, patience, and understanding, they could overcome even the greatest of obstacles. And for the first time in years, Korath slept calmly, wings folded in the presence of humans it had chosen to trust. The sun rose slowly over the horizon, casting a soft golden light over the ruined city. The streets were empty, but Marcus Hale knew the Empire would not wait long. The attack from the previous night had been only a warning. Soon larger forces would arrive to claim the dragon by force. He could feel it in the air. The tension of soldiers preparing, the distant hum of engines, the quiet murmur of strategy among alien commanders. He crouched beside Korath, examining the implants along the dragon's back. The massive creature stirred, nostrils flaring, golden eyes glowing with awareness. Marcus placed a hand on the dragon's claw, feeling the subtle tremor of energy running through its body. It was calm but ready. Leah stirred in the corner, rubbing her eyes as she woke. "Are they coming?" she asked softly, her small voice trembling but steady. Marcus smiled gently. "Yes, but we're ready. We'll face them together, Yumi and Korath. No one can touch us if we stay calm and work together." The dragon shifted closer, sensing the human's determination. Marcus ran his hand along Korath's side. The implants had adjusted slightly after their previous battles, and the creature seemed almost at ease despite the looming threat. Trust, Marcus knew, was not just emotional, it was also survival. From the edge of the ruined city, Marcus spotted movement. Alien soldiers emerged in formation, plasma rifles glinting in the sunlight. The lead officer from previous encounters rode a hover vehicle at their front, signaling his troops to advance. Their plan was simple: overwhelm and capture the dragon, removing the human obstacle permanently. Marcus stood, placing himself firmly in front of Korath. "We do not want to fight, but we will protect ourselves," he said calmly. His voice carried the quiet authority of a soldier who had faced impossible odds before. The soldiers advanced cautiously, but Korath anticipated every move. With a subtle gesture from Marcus, the dragon spread its massive wings, creating a barrier that forced the soldiers to slow their approach. Sparks shot from the implants along its claws and spine, a warning of power restrained but ready to unleash. Marcus raised his hand, signaling the dragon. Korath did not strike immediately. Instead, it blocked the soldiers' path, forcing them to hesitate. The veteran human had taught it patience, control, and careful judgment. Force alone could not win this fight. They needed strategy, trust, and unity. The lead officer barked orders, signaling the soldiers to fire. Plasma bolts streaked across the ruined streets, hitting metal walls and sending showers of sparks into the air. Korath moved with incredible speed, deflecting shots with its wings and tail, protecting Marcus and Leah. Every motion was precise, controlled, and deliberate. Marcus realized something powerful. Korath was no longer just a weapon, it was a partner. The dragon's loyalty was not bought or forced, it was earned. That made its power far more dangerous than the Empire could control. As the soldiers advanced again, Marcus took a deep breath and whispered to Korath. "We move together, now," the dragon responded instantly. With a surge of energy from its implants, Korath leapt into the air, wings flaring wide. Marcus grabbed Leah's hand, and they ran toward the dragon's side. Korath swooped low, allowing them to climb onto its back. Leah clung to Marcus, her eyes wide with awe as the massive wings lifted them into the sky. The soldiers fired again, but Korath's speed and agility made their weapons nearly useless. Sparks flew, plasma bolts deflected by metallic implants in sheer power. The dragon roared, a sound that echoed across the ruins, shaking loose debris and scattering the remaining forces. Marcus leaned close to Korath's neck, whispering commands and encouragement. "Steady, keep going. We're almost safe," the dragon responded, banking sharply to avoid a hovering attack craft. Its golden eyes focused, wings beating with power and precision. Marcus felt the familiar surge of adrenaline from his war days, but this was different. This was not about combat alone, it was about trust, partnership, and protecting the innocent. Below them, the soldiers regrouped, unsure of how to proceed. Their weapons were ineffective, their tactics failing. They had expected to capture a beast, not face a human who had earned its loyalty. Marcus's calm confidence, combined with Korath's raw power, was a force they could not comprehend. They flew over the city, toward the distant mountains where Marcus had identified a hidden cave during previous scouting missions. The dragon's flight was steady, powerful yet cautious, keeping Leah secure and avoiding unnecessary risks. For the first time in years, Korath was free from cages and chains, soaring across the open sky. As they reached the mountains, Marcus noticed small patrols below, still searching. He whispered to Korath, "We need to hide for now. Let them think we are gone." The dragon banked sharply, wings folding as it dove into the narrow canyon where sunlight barely reached the floor. The shadows concealed them, and the patrols above passed without notice. Inside the cave, Korath lowered to the ground, wings folding carefully around them. Leah slid off Marcus's back, eyes wide and sparkling. "He's amazing," she whispered, running a hand along the dragon's massive claw. Marcus smiled, brushing her hair from her face. "Yes, he is. And he chose us. That's the difference. Not everyone can earn a dragon's trust." They settled in the cave, the first quiet moment since the Empire's assault. Marcus examined Korath's implants again, making minor adjustments to reduce the strain on the dragon's body. Leah helped gently, placing small packs of supplies near Korath. The dragon lay quietly, almost peaceful, golden eyes blinking slowly as it observed the human family it now trusted. Marcus realized something profound. Humanity's strength was not just in technology, weapons, or numbers. It was in patience, understanding, and the ability to heal what others had broken. Korath's trust had been earned, not forced. That bond made them stronger than any army the Empire could muster. Days passed in the hidden cave. Marcus, Leah, and Korath began establishing routines. Marcus trained with Korath, teaching it to respond to subtle commands, to move stealthily, and to protect without aggression unless necessary. Leah continued to bond, her innocence and trust helping the dragon heal further. Meanwhile, the Empire struggled to comprehend their failure. Reports came in of a human and a dragon missing from the citadel. Soldiers scoured the city, drones flew over mountains, but Marcus had anticipated their movements. He had trained Korath not just in strength but in strategy, evasion, and observation. The Empire could not predict the bond between human and dragon. Finally, Marcus made a decision. They could not hide forever. Korath's strength and trust were too valuable to remain concealed. They would return to the colony where Marcus could ensure Leah's safety and begin training Korath fully, preparing for whatever the Empire might attempt next. The flight back was cautious, but controlled. Korath moved with grace, avoiding patrols and sensors. Marcus felt a sense of pride, not in combat but in the quiet knowledge that humans could achieve what others deemed impossible. Patience, empathy, and courage had prevailed. When they reached the colony, Leah ran to greet neighbors and friends who had feared the worst. Korath remained hidden initially, but Marcus knew that in time, the dragon would be accepted. Its trust in humans had been tested and proven. The Empire watched from afar, powerless to intervene. They had underestimated humanity's resilience, its patience, and its ability to see value beyond fear and control. Marcus and Korath had proven that even the most broken creature could become a partner, a protector, and a friend when treated with respect and care. Marcus knelt beside the dragon one last time, brushing his hand along the massive claw. "You chose us," he whispered, "and we'll never forget that. We'll protect each other no matter what comes next." Korath lowered its head, resting it gently against Marcus's shoulder. The golden eyes glowed faintly in trust, acknowledgement, and a quiet promise of loyalty. Leah placed her hand on the dragon's snout, and for the first time all three of them, father, daughter, and dragon, shared a moment of perfect harmony. The Empire could send armies. They could design machines and traps, but they could never break the bond that had been built on understanding, patience, and courage. Marcus Hale, a single father and war veteran, had proven the truth of humanity, that compassion and perseverance could conquer even the greatest of fears. The dragon, once broken and feared, now soared not just as a weapon, but as a symbol of hope and trust. Marcus and Leah had shown that humanity could heal what others had abandoned. That strength was not measured in force alone, and that the heart was the most powerful tool of all. As the sun set over the colony, casting warm light over the rooftops and mountains, Marcus watched Korath settle peacefully nearby. He held Leah's hand, feeling the warmth of family, trust, and the quiet, unbreakable bond they had forged. And for the first time in many years, Marcus felt truly victorious, not over armies or beasts, but over fear, cruelty, and doubt. Humanity had endured, and in their courage and care they had found something stronger than any empire could ever destroy.